What do you want me to do for you? Has anybody ever asked you that question? We don't get that a lot, I guarantee you. Because depending on how you answer that is really depending on who's asking the question, right? So if literally this came from me today, what do you want me to do for you? Most of you would say, keep it short. That's what most of you would say, right? There's different professions in here, right? So if a doctor said something to you about, what do you mean to do for you? A free surgery would be nice, appreciate that. Or an architect, a free house, draw me a free house, right? Depending on who asked that question, it goes how you're going to answer that. Tony Robbins, some of y'all may have heard of this guy named Tony Robbins, sort of a motivator type guy, He came across a homeless guy one time, and he asked that question basically, what do you need? What do you mean to do for you? And this homeless guy told Tony, he said, well, I would like a hot meal and a chance. A chance, basically. So Tony did buy him a hot meal that day, but then connected him with resources that literally changed his life to where he was able to get out of being homeless and go on to live a better life. Some of y'all will recognize the name Chris Gardner in a little bit, but Chris was a salesman, single father. He came across a guy from Dean Witter at one point, and that guy, Dean Witter, basically asked the same question, what do you want me to do for you, or what do you want in life, or something like that. And Chris said, I want to be a stockbroker. Chris had no experience at all with this, but that led to an unpaid internship, which ended up leading for him to be a successful man in life. And that movie that is based on his life is Pursuit of Happiness. So what do you have me? What do you want me to do for you? What do you want me to do for you? The way you answer that question will actually determine your values. It will show your hopes. It will maybe even your dreams, right? It's going to reveal that. The way you answer that question is going to reveal your hopes and your dreams, your desires, your values. But what if Jesus asked that question? See, when Jesus asked that question, you know what that reveals to us? Our faith. And he's asked this question twice in a short amount of time according to the Gospel of Mark. And we'll see two different times he asked this question. We're going to look at the second one first. And this is in Mark chapter 10. They came to Jericho as Jesus and his disciples together with a large crowd were leaving the city. A blind man, Bartimaeus, which means son of Timaeus, was sitting by the roadside begging. So just a sort of a gospel background a little bit. This story is mentioned in Matthew and Luke too, as well. And we have pretty similar stories, but Mark's the only one that gives us the dude's name, Bartimaeus. And I thought about that a little bit because, quick lesson, Matthew and Luke have a lot of details. If you read their gospel stories of Jesus' life, there's a lot of details in their stories. And if you look at John, there's a lot of red letter, a lot of Jesus words in John. Mark is a little bit different. Mark is one of those condensed gospels that gives us basically just the facts. It gets to the point. This is who Jesus is. This is what he did, and boom, you move on. In fact, that's one of those gospels that is easy to do Bible study. If you want to do a quick, easy Bible study of the life of Jesus, look at Mark. Jump right into Mark. So it's interesting that Mark gives us this detail that the others don't. And why did he take the time to do that? Well, I'm just sort of taking a leap a little bit, just to let you know that I think this is what happened. Why was he named? In Jesus' community, the overlooked are not just welcomed, they're seen. In Jesus' community, the overlooked are not just welcomed, they are seen. Now, what Bartimaeus was blind, okay? In the culture, in the society of this day, this was not a positive thing, right? This was not a positive thing. Some of the people in this community thought that he was cursed. They would have thought there was some sin in his family or sin he committed that would have made him blind. Not everybody believed that, but that was sort of undertones for some people. Bart could not participate in everything in the religious world at that time because he couldn't see. He could do a good bit, but not everything. And what could he do? When you think about it, our world's changed a whole lot, and we're able to adapt. And so many people are that have these different abilities that can be capitalized on, but not during this time. So his issue of being blind probably would have caused him to seek alternative ways to make it, to survive. And one of those ways would have been to beg. And we've seen this in other stories that Jesus encountered different people along the margins of life. Some of them had to keep doing it all the time, whether they were handicapped, whether they could not walk, whether they were mute, deaf. A number of them had to beg to make it. There's no social services. There's no other resources for Bart to fall back on. It was all on him or those in his family or even close friends to help him out. So he was out there. He was out there. He had to be in public trying to get people's attention, to help him out whatever way that was. And I don't know about you, but sometimes when you see the same thing over and over again, day after day after day, it's white noise, isn't it? You just sort of forget that they're there, or you take them for granted. And I think that's the case here. The people had just, it's just Bart. That's just who he is, and it's not going to worry about him. But Jesus said, call him. So Jesus stopped his walking. And they stopped and said, call him. So they called to the blind man, cheer up on your feet. He's calling you. So this guy, Bart, got Jesus' attention some way or another. For Jesus to stop, he was on his way, and he stopped. So what was it about Bart? This guy in the margins, right? This guy in the margins that Jesus would stop and invite him into his space. We wouldn't do that. Many of us that drive around this area, and if you come to this church on any regular basis, there's a couple intersections where somebody's going to be at some time, a couple times of the year, you're going to see them with a sign up, need help, need food, stuff like that. And almost everyone in here, if it's a stoplight, we're going, oh gosh, it's a stoplight. And we're sitting there right there, and we have to stare at them while waiting on the stoplight to change. And those days when it's green and we keep going, we go, thank you, right? Very few of us will actually stop and go around to the person and say, hey, can I buy you a meal or something like that? We have some people in our church that have done that, by the way. But very few of us will actually stop and do that. The people on the margins, we're just not. That's what Jesus did. Jesus stopped somebody on the margins. He stopped with somebody on the margins and took time for them. Why did he do that? Well, it's because of what Bart had said. Bart said, when he heard that it was Jesus of Nazareth, he began to shout, Jesus, Son of David, have mercy on me. Jesus, Son of David, have mercy on me. Now, the crowd would have probably been against Bart, telling him to shut up and don't do anything like that. Crowd would have been trying to stop him from doing that. You see, what we find is that sometimes if we focus on the religion, it can cause us to miss the Redeemer. And let me explain what I mean by that, just for a little bit. Again, who was Jesus? Jesus was a teacher. Some would call him the rabbi. We've hinted at that before. We've said that before, that a number of people had called Jesus rabbi. He was not in the technical sense that the other quote-unquote rabbis in the Jewish order at that time, but he was still considered a teacher, great teacher. And so the way in which you would approach one of these great teachers was to go to them wherever they were teaching. And he would invite you to be an apprentice and all these things, right? You would go to him, not the other way around. not asking the teacher to come to you. That's what was going on here. Bart was asking the teacher basically to come, hey, son of David, have mercy on me. When he said son of David, this threw out the religious tone that would have got people's attention. You know that? Because son of David was assigned to the Messiah that was to come. That was the moniker that was out there in the Old Testament world. Old Testament passages refer to the coming Messiah and refer to that Messiah as coming from the line of David. And so there was this religious tone with this son of David. Son of David. And when he said that, well, let's go ahead and go to these verses. Of the greatness of his government and peace there will be no end. He will reign on David's throne and over his kingdom. So again, talking to a future person coming, this Messiah. I will raise up for David a righteous branch, a king who will reign wisely and do what is just and right in the land. So this is the son of David that he's referencing. This Jesus, this Messiah. And so sometimes when we focus on religion, we may miss the Redeemer. And so when he said that sort of threw up maybe a red flag to some of the people there on that entourage that were going, because they go, wait a second, he's calling this guy the son of David. He's calling him the Messiah. That's not the way this whole deal works. You see, the religion that we're a part of is you go to him, he doesn't come to you. And there are things that we do that are sort of by the book, right? We go to synagogue. We expect things to happen this way. The teacher is teaching in specifically this way and in this location. And that's when we experience God. And so let's just use our experience today as an example. There's 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. And one of those hours in the 7-day week, you show up here or you watch one of these services. And in your mind, you're thinking that's the only place God's going to show up. In your mind, maybe subconsciously, you're saying, this is the only place I can experience Jesus. Or in a little bit when we take the Lord's Supper, this is the only time that I'm going to be able to experience Jesus is in the bread and the juice, which I believe does happen. But see, if we focus on just the mechanics of taking the bread and the juice, and if we focus on just the point that we're singing a song, we're praying, and we're here listening to a message, we're hearing the Word of God being read, that this is the only place that we can meet Jesus, then we're missing it, right? We get so focused on religion that we miss the Redeemer. And old Bart, he wasn't focused on the religion, was he? He was focused on Jesus, the Messiah. The one that he believed that Scriptures talked about, the one that was to come, the one who would reign wisely, the one that would come make a difference in the world. And what did Jesus do? When he came upon him, he says, what do you want me to do for you? What do you want me to do for you? And there's no pause. There is no pause. Bart simply says, I want to see. I want to see. You know, I think some of us would pull the Aladdin thing. Give me a second. Wait a second. I got 3 wishes. Wait a second. How does this work? You know, get an argument about it, trying to figure out, get the best advantage we could, right? No thought at all. No thought at all. What do you mean to do for you? I want to see. I want my life changed. The life I have now, I want it to be different. That's what I want. That's what I want. This is in very stark contrast into the other time Jesus asked this question, according to Mark, right before this. In Mark, starting in verse 35 of Mark 10. Then James and John, the sons of Zebedee, came to him. Teacher, they said, we want you to do for us whatever we ask. Ever any kids ask that to a parent, by the way? I'm just wondering. So, actually, I've had. Haven't you? At some point, had this version. Hey, Mom and Dad, we really want you to do what we're getting ready to ask. You ever had that? It has happened to me a couple of times. All right. Well, Jesus says, what do you want me to do for you? They replied, let one of us sit at your right and the other at your left in your glory. Bart wanted vision. These guys wanted status. These guys wanted to Jesus to give them influence, to give them this glory to where they would reign with him. Bart, I just want to see, man. I just want to see. You know, I think Bart, I could say he was a little bit selfish here, right? He was a little bit selfish. I want to see. I want my life changed. But James and John, they were selfish with an ego. They had like selfish ambition going on with their request. Bart, Jesus, man, I just want to stand and see. I want to see where I'm going. I want to see what's next. After James and John asked this question, it had been really cool for them if they'd asked it in secret. Nope, they were not that smart. The other disciples heard it. They were indignant. They were not happy that they asked that question. They said that we want to sit to right and left. But old Bart, when he said, I want to see, you know what Jesus says? Go. Your faith has healed you. Immediately he received his sight and followed Jesus along the road. Go. Isn't this pretty cool? Because other instances of Jesus healing people, he did basically say go. They went back. They showed everybody that they were healed. They showed their parents. They showed the village. They showed the priests. They were going. I'm healed. I can walk. I can see. I don't have leprosy. All these different things that Jesus did. But in this case, blind Bart was told to go. And you would think he would have thrown a party. He'd have went and told everybody. What did he do? Follow Jesus. He followed Jesus. You know, this series that we're in, we got 2 more weeks. Then we start something different on Easter. This is called Can I Get a Witness? You know what's interesting about old Bart? That he was actually a witness before and after he met Jesus. He was a witness before and after. See, he was sitting there blind, sort of at the mercy of everybody else. But when Jesus comes by, he hears that Jesus is coming by. He's never been a part of anything to where he had known Jesus had healed people before. He'd never been a part of that, never witnessed that at all. Probably even never heard Jesus speak and teach. He just heard about him. And simply hearing about Jesus, he had faith. He had faith that he was the one, that he was the Messiah, the one that could make a difference in his life. He believed that before Jesus did anything. Before Jesus spoke to him, before Jesus restored his sight, he still knew who Jesus was. And how many of us keep waiting and waiting for Jesus to do something in our life before we believe. And there is a place for that. I'm not discounting that, because that happens to a number of people. That they have encountered with Jesus and they're healed, or something supernatural takes place and they go, oh my gosh, now I believe. But normally those are people who have not a clue about who Jesus is. For the people in this room, we have a clue. We have a clue. We've read enough about it. We've heard enough about it. Do we have the faith of Bart? And we know he was a witness after Jesus restored his sight, because he followed Jesus. He followed Jesus. You know, Jesus is asking you the same question today. What do you want me to do for you? How you answer that question reflects your heart. How you answer that question reflects your heart. Bartimaeus asked for mercy and by faith received healing. The disciples, what did they ask for? They wanted recognition, and Jesus had to redirect them a little bit to do something else. Will you ask for power or transformation? Will you choose status or the Savior? Will you stay where you are, or will you follow him?